Yeah. Hello, my name is Gareth. You're watching the Hub Online Network, and we're going to try something new today and for the next couple of days, but I'll get to that in a subsequent video. Today we're talking School District 74 and the possible disposal of school district buildings. So let's get to it. All right, so there's been lots of speculation and talk around town about the Ashcroft HUB, which is in the old Ashcroft Elementary School building. It's been here for about 4 or 5 years. I have a little video clip here that does talk about the process and why it is where it is and what it is and et cetera. And I'll play that a little bit later on in this video. But what a lot of people seem to be worried about is, what does the term disposal mean? So it does not mean the destruction of the building. It does mean sort of getting it off of the books. Now, for the school board, that is. Now, in 2008, the school district did come up with what their policy around these types of things are. So I'm going to read the policy. So school building closure and disposal. So this is again from 2008. And it says that if a board of education no longer requires property for educational purposes, the board must seek the approval of the minister prior to disposing of the property by sale and transfer or by a lease of 10 years or more, unless the board is selling or leasing land or building to another board, including the Conseil, scolaire, francophone, or independent school or educational purposes. Boards of education must engage in broad consultation and in enhanced planning regarding underutilized school buildings and other property owned by the boards prior to property disposition. The Ministry of Education and Boards of Education have an expanded mandate, expanded mandate for early learning. The government made in 2008 throne speech committed to the study of possible implementation of all-day kindergarten for 5-year-old children and optional all-day care programs for 3 or 4-year-old children. Future school space requirements related to these new initiatives must be considered prior to disposing of currently underutilized or surplus property. School buildings and properties are also valuable public assets that can become centers for delivering education and community services that meet the vital needs of the community. Available school space should be available for alternative community use. For example, early learning, child care services, adult and industry training education programs, family resource centers, senior centers, public libraries, healthcare and therapy services, local social services, community recreation programs. Authority. School closures and disposal of school board property are guided by 2 ministerial orders: the school opening and closure order and the disposal of land and improvements order. These orders are made under the authority of School Act Section 73, 1682 and 96.3. So policy in full. The policy outlines the terms and conditions that the minister will consider in the approval of a Board of Education's request to dispose of real property. The disposal of real property includes the sale, exchange, or lease of 10 years or more of land or improvements, or both. Boards of education must consider potential space needs for early learning programs in the future. Available school space will be needed to accommodate these and other programs. School buildings are a valuable asset where communities may find new uses now and in the future. Boards of education must consider potential needs for alternative community use. With respect to surplus or underutilized school space, the board must consult the local government, community organizations, and the public on alternative community uses. The consultation process must include consideration of future enrollment growth in the district, including kindergarten to grade 12, adult programs, and early learning. Consideration of alternative community use of surplus space in school buildings and other facilities, and a fair consideration of the community's input and adequate opportunity for the community to respond to the board's plans for the school. Only in exceptional circumstances should a board consider permanently disposing of school property. Without the approval of the minister, a board may only sell land or buildings to another board including the Conseil scolaire francophone, for independent school for educational purposes. A board may lease property for under 10 years according to its own policies and procedures to an entity for an alternative community use. The minister may approve a sale or lease of 10 years or more to an entity for use other than alternative community use. When such exceptional circumstances occur, a board must confirm that the board will not require the land or improvements for future educational or community purposes. School property disposed of to an entity for use other than an educational or alternative community use must be sold through public tender or other competitive building processes to ensure fair public access and market value is obtained. School property disposed of to another board, including the Conseil scolaire francophone or independent school for education purposes, or local government or community organizations for alternative community use, may be sold at less than market value. So there's some additional definitions here. So educational purposes means a use for delivering the K-12 educational program, as well as new educational initiatives such as early learning. Alternative community use means a use by a community agency or organization for land or improvements owned by a board other than the educational purposes of the board. And a lease of 10 years or more means a lease of 10 years or more, including the cumulative total of all options and rights to extend or renew the lease. Procedures related to the policy. So details of required procedures, including bylaw requirements and notification to the minister, are set out in full. The two minister orders listed above. So that is what the provincial school orders are. So it sounds like the hub sort of falls within those guidelines. Now, from some of the things that we are able to say from the hub is that as of this point, with the school board choosing to bring up this conversation, from the hub's point of view here, there is no decisions have been made yet. The hub board has asked the school board to postpone this decision until we are living in a more certain time. So once COVID's done, this may be a more appropriate time to revisit this idea. If the disposal discussion moves forward, the school board will be looking for public feedback. So if you have feedback, you can A, send it to the school district itself, or B, or you can let us know here at Han Journalist at ashcrofthub.com, and we would love to have your feedback on this particular situation. So please give us an email. The Hub Board will continue to provide services to the community and will be discussing the options available for continuing for a long time in the future. Also, we, from the board, will be keeping the community updated on this process. So, at this point, Vicki Trill is a school board trustee, and she is also the executive director of the Hub. So what she is doing at this time is she is recusing herself from both any discussion that's taking place about this topic in public, and she's recusing herself from any conversation happening on the school board. So if you have questions, you should probably direct them at other other Hub trustees and or school board trustees. Now, here is that short video about what some of the services the Hub has done in the past. This video is from 2019, so maybe I should look at doing an updated version of this, but this is what we have for now.
Hi, I'm Vicki Trill, Executive Director at the Ashcroft HUB Society. Welcome! So in 2015, the Ashcroft Elementary School, the only elementary school in town, closed and was going to amalgamate with the current high school. That was great. We were excited about that, but we wondered what now will happen with this big, great building with a gymnasium and spaces and all of these opportunities that our community was currently taking, like karate and different recreational programs and clubs for kids. We thought, well, now where will that go? So we said somebody should do something. And so as we started to talk, myself and some moms, we said, well, I guess we're those somebody. And then we found out how much it costs every month to just pay for the utilities. And at $3,000, we knew we needed to make a business plan. got that underway, got our insurance underway, and we made our mission and mandate, and that is to reduce the population decline by providing more opportunities for community to connect in wellness, recreation, and the arts. What we try to do is just really listen to the community and where there are service and program gaps in the community, and then we find ways and get dollars together to try to find ways to fill those gaps. So over the course of the last few years, we've filled this building up, which we didn't believe possible from that first day that we started to, sweep the dirt and clear the spaces. But this is a happening place, and we have clubs and societies and businesses all partnering together with us with the same purpose in mind to fill those service and program gaps in our community. We really think it's important for us to make sure that all of these services are accessible and inclusive. So we work really hard at finding funding sources. And we're just so pleased to say that for every month currently, we have counted around 3,000 uses of service. So our community is responding in a way that says, yes, this was needed, and they are participating in everything from youth programs, kids' day camps, senior services, adult programs, community events, and it's happening at the Hub, and we're just so pleased to be involved in serving our community.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
On.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So some of those activities aren't being offered here anymore, but again, that video is from 2019. There are other things happening at the Hub in its place. Due to COVID, some things have been removed, not permanently, but just for COVID reasons. Now, as I said before, the term disposal does not mean demolition. It simply means moving it off the budget financially for the school board. However, there is a precedent for selling school and school-related buildings and properties for reduced amounts in some cases, from what I understand, even for $1. And those go to typically community groups and stuff. So tomorrow, being Tuesday the 5th, is the school board meeting that all of this is sort of, the conversation is going to start at. And it is being done on Zoom. So in the description of this video, I'm going to put the link to the Zoom meeting. So, because they are encouraging public feedback and people to join in. The conversation is about halfway down the agenda for the open meeting. So if you're going to show up, be prepared to sit there for a few minutes until this thing happens. There's also let me bring it up here. So from the actual school board, this is from the agenda. So they say, this is to the Board of Education from district management, and this was sent January 5th? No. How is that a thing? Oh, this is just for the thing tomorrow. Okay, so the date says tomorrow. So over the last several years, the board has reviewed surplus properties no longer required for educational purposes and disposed of properties to allow funding and staffing to be focused on open schools. Since 2013, the board has disposed of 9 properties. The board has approved proceeding with a property disposal process for the former Ashcroft Elementary School, which includes hearing from local communities on the potential disposal. The building is currently leased to the Ashcroft HUB Society. It is recommended that the board met with local Indigenous communities and municipalities and hold a public meeting to gather input on this topic. It is likely that the meeting would occur via Zoom. A process to allow the written feedback to be submitted would also be available. The board would then consider the community input when demonstrating next steps in the disposal process. Approval from the Ministry of Education is required before the property can be disposed of or sold. So that is a letter that is in the agenda for tomorrow's meeting. Now, the Hub is currently in the middle of a 9-year lease with the school board, and there are circumstances, like there is a clause in there saying that either side can get rid of the lease within, I believe, a 60-day notice. So there are things in there like that that can take all of this into circumstance. So anyway, if you would like to have your say again, please email the school district and let them know what you think, or you can email us and we will provide what you say in our show. I'll talk about sort of a new format that we're going to try here at the Ashcroft or the Hub Online Network. And that'll be coming up a little bit later on today. So please stay tuned for that. Thank you all for watching. Have yourselves a good day, and we will talk to you soon.